What is good, people? Welcome back to the channel. So today's a very special day. We've got the sun out. I don't know if you can actually see that. Sun out in Scotland today. So, nah, just kidding. It's actually going to be the start of my mock peak today. So I am currently 4 weeks out from my photo shoot. Today's going to be the first day of my mock peak. Essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to just trial my peak, see what works, what doesn't, and then obviously I can make changes to that come my actual peak, right? So today is going to be the start. It's going to be the first day of fat loading. So I'm going to be having a lot of fat today, but I'll put you guys down and I'll walk you through what I'm going to be doing this mock peak, and I'll take you through my strategy and why we're doing certain things. So why do we want to do a mock peak before we do a photo shoot? So the reason that we do a sort of peak before a photo shoot, essentially within the muscle, there's two sort of storage units or storage centers, right? You got your triglyceride storage, which is your fats, and then you've got your carbohydrate storage, which is essentially your glycogen, right? When you do a photo shoot or a bodybuilding show, or even if you're just trying to get a nasty bump in the gym, these storage units are going to be very central to bringing the best sort of look possible. So essentially what I'm going to be doing for the first 3 days of this mock peak is I'm going to be loading up my triglyceride stores, so that's my fat stores. And while I'm doing that, I'm actually going to be trying to deplete my glycogen stores. So my macros for today are going to be looking at something like 180 protein, 150 fat, and then about 50-60 gram of carbs off the top of my head. So very low carb, and that is essentially going to allow me to deplete as much glycogen from the muscle as possible. And the reason that we want to do that is we want to get as many fats in as we can so we can load those triglyceride stores, and B, so that we can create a super compensation effect when we actually do reintroduce our carbohydrates into the diet, right? So first 3 days are going to be a fat load. Day 4 and 5 is going to be a carb load. So essentially, I'm going to be having anywhere between 400 to 700 grams of carbs those days. And it all depends on how my body responds to that initial load of carbohydrates. So I've trialed 500 gram of carbs before. In fact, I was doing a very short maintenance phase going into this mock peak, just 3-4 days at maintenance, just because I needed to drop some fatigue on my body. So I ran a wee maintenance phase going into this mock peak, and I was actually running about 500 gram of carbs, and I did feel a little bit watery, so we might have to, but that's without a complete full depletion. So we'll see what 500 grams of carbs does on the first day of carb loading. If that's a good response, then we increase the carbs by a little bit, and by a little bit, 50 gram of carbs. We don't want to be adding hundreds of carbs into there, because obviously you don't want it to flip the other way. And then instead of getting full muscles, you get a really watery look. You can't see too much detail, because essentially what you're doing when you're carb loading, you're loading up your carbs, which draws water into the body. Essentially, the entire purpose of a peak is to draw as much water intramuscularly and limit water outside of the muscle, basically. As with the look, right? So I'll put up some progress photos up here. This is how we're looking this morning. So I'm going to be taking progress photos every single day for this entire mock peak, because essentially you want to see how your body's going to respond to each day of that peak. And the only way to do that is really by taking progress photos. Obviously I could look at myself in the mirror, and that's probably what I'll be doing the majority of the time, because some people, they do it after every single meal. I don't really see the point in that when I can just look at myself in the mirror. So I'm going to be doing that. And that's the current look at about 73 kilo. I would like to be leaner, definitely. After this mock peak, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be spending the last 2 weeks digging, just to make sure that I can get maybe 1.5 kilograms off. And I think that will perfect the look, because the last few weeks I've really struggled with my mentality around food, and that's something I want to talk about in another video. Some stuff that I've used, some strategies that I've used to work my way around that, because it was quite rough. It was almost like a binge restrict cycle, and the reason I was at maintenance the last few days is just to alleviate pressure of that, because essentially what was happening was I was restricting myself, obviously, with my diet, which is what you need to do to lose body fat, obviously. But then I would snack. So I would have a snack, and then I would feel guilty about said snack. And essentially it's like a snowball effect. So it snowballs and eventually get to the point where you're on the verge of a full-scale binge. I was basically eating at close to maintenance anyway. I was eating 2,800 calories most days rather than the 2,400 calories that I planned myself. So my maintenance is around 3,000. So essentially, instead of going through this binge restrict thing, stressing and getting a lot of my food from, getting a large chunk of my food from snacking on very unfilling or very low satiety things, I decided to just pull myself up to maintenance and just have maintenance food for a couple of days before I do my mock peak. And my mentality around food's so much better already. I've been eating at maintenance for like 4 days, deliberately eating at maintenance for 4 days. Obviously eating at maintenance before that a little bit because of obviously the snacking and all that, but it's different with your mindset, your emotions. So going into the mock peak, I'm feeling good. Gonna crack on with meal 1 though. So my meals for today, run you through them real quick here. So like I said, 181 protein, 162 fat and 55 carbohydrate. So meal 1 is going to be 3 eggs, 15 grams of olive oil and 100 grams of avocado. Meal 2 is going to be 2 eggs, 15 grams of olive oil and then 100 grams of avocado. Meal 3 is going to be 200 gram chicken breast, then 15 grams of olive oil and 100 grams of veggies. Meal 4 is going to be 30 grams of peanut butter, 400 grams of Greek yogurt. Probably going to put some fruit on that as well. So I've not actually accounted for that in my macro factor, which I will do now. But just to get something a little bit fresher in there. And then meal 5 is going to be 200 gram chicken, 100 gram of veggies, and then 100 gram of avocado and 15 gram of olive oil. So very fat heavy day. I've decided to have, even though it's a rest day, I'm doing fuck all today as well. For this entire week, I'm going to be doing, the next 7 days, I'm going to be doing 8,000 steps a day, because the last thing you want to do is be on your feet, generating fatigue, and that's going to actually take away from the look. So very fat heavy. I've decided to split it up between 5 meals. The reason for that is just to make sure that nutrients are partitioning quite well, because if you're having 40 grams of fat, some meals here, 3 meals are basically 40 grams of fat, it's going to be difficult to digest, especially when you've not been used to eating that. I've been only eating about 40 to 50 grams of fat a day for the last little while. So I'm going to prep those eggs and I'll show you the final product. And there we go, that's the final product. So nice sweet omelette, avocado on the side. I actually forgot the last little bit of olive oil. So final touch is actually 5 more grams of olive oil. So bash that on there. Just fucking absolutely poured that. There we go, 5 more grams of olive oil in there. I was supposed to drizzle that, but it ended up being a bit of a puddle. So olive oil is definitely going to be a difficult one, because that's 15 grams of olive oil in this meal here. So it's going to be quite heavy to get down, but I'm going to look forward to this, and I'll see you for meal 2. I'm off on a wee walk now, because my meals are going to be quite heavy. Like I said, I'm still doing 8,000 steps a day, but my walking is going to be primarily based around my meal timings. So I'm going to be going out for around 1,000, 2,000 steps, 10-20 minute walk after every meal today, just to make sure that I am able to digest that meal quite well, because again, like I say, 40 grams of fat is quite a lot of fat to be having in one meal. Even that meal there is sitting quite heavy in me, and obviously I've got 4 of those to go. So just to make sure things are getting digested properly and my gut isn't distending or anything like that, because obviously when I come to do the actual photo shoot, I want to minimise the amount of gut distension that I get. So it's going to be important that I get my digestion on point throughout this entire sort of peaking process. And we are with meal 2 of the day. So this is about 400 grams of yogurt, 100 grams of berries and 30 grams of peanut butter. What I did with the peanut butter is I just banged it in the microwave for about a minute, and then that allowed me to drizzle it on top. And there is a wee bit of pink salt on that as well, just to again help with hydration, nutrient transport and all that, because realistically we're not actually trying to reduce the amount of salt intake that we have. We just keep the water intake, the salt intake baseline, and then we just manipulate the carbohydrates and the fats around it, and that's just the easiest way to do it without adding too many variables to play, or playing around with too many variables to where you just have more of a chance of overcomplicating things and messing things up. So that's going to be meal 2. Meal 3 there, it's 200 gram of chicken, 100 gram of veg, and then 15 gram of olive oil. I cooked the chicken, 5 gram of olive oil, so this was already meal prepped. I put 5 gram of olive oil in the pan, then I put the rest of the olive oil on top of the chicken, and it's not really much to look at, but it's a meal, and obviously very high fat from all the olive oil. I decided to have a smaller meal now, so my last 2 meals, so it's my 3rd meal out of 5, my last 2 meals are a little bit bigger, so I decided to have a smaller meal now just to have a little bit more food later. It's actually the next day. I was recording that video, or I was editing and it turned out the last couple of sections I put on it didn't have any audio on it. I don't think I had my microphone on me when I was recording them, so I forgot to put that on. Rookie mistake there. Wee update actually. I went to the gym today. I did my normal bench press work, and then I did a sort of pump session afterwards. I don't usually do pump work, so that's like, I would say any work above 10 reps. You don't go too close to failure, you're using quite a slow eccentric, all that sort of stuff. That's not really my style of training. But went in, got a nice pump on, and I can actually show you the photos of the first day of the fat load. And honestly, I was actually quite full, considering I'd only had about 60 gram of carbs yesterday. I was actually really full. The pump was really good. Didn't last too long, but it was there, and I can show you some photos here because I looked pretty sick. Sparked my confidence again. I think I said that in a previous video when I looked at my physique after a high day. So definitely really cool there. But last 2 meals of the day yesterday are going to be the same as the last 2 meals today, which is going to be essentially that chicken meal that you just saw. Basically 200 gram chicken, 100 gram of veg, 15 gram of olive oil, and then 1 avocado in that one though. On that other one that you just saw there's no avocado in that one, and the last one there is an avocado. And then that egg meal again, so it's just the omelette again, omelette and avocado. Nothing really too crazy about the meals to be honest. I was actually a lot more full than I expected. I was quite full throughout the entire day. I didn't really have any cravings at night, which was really nice, especially considering I was eating a lot less food than I had been the last couple of days, especially with carbohydrates. But I did feel quite a bit of an energy crash. It wasn't like I know people say, oh, you have really consistent energy throughout the entire time when you're having quite a low carb, high fat diet. And I don't know if that was just me just being one day into it rather than having a full week on a low carb diet. But I don't know about the energy claims that people make, because I definitely did not feel that energetic yesterday, although my Whoop score is quite low. So I don't know, my sleep was just a bit shit, or fighting something or something like that. But I'll put some B-roll up maybe of those last couple of meals, and then I'm just going to sign off now because I need to get back to editing this video so it's ready for you guys tomorrow. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Obviously, any questions about the fat load, just let me know. If you want coaching, so if you want personalised coaching, hit the link in the description and you can inquire there. We can set up a consultation call where I can chat to you just about your goals, about what you want to achieve, and then to see if we're actually a good fit. But subscribe. I'll catch you next time.